Viewers, a shadow from the past has returned to haunt Al-Falah as its management. And in fact, this is an institution that should have produced scholars, doctors and engineers. It's under the scanner now for allegedly becoming a haven for terror accused in the 10/11 Delhi blast case. The deep, dark reality of alleged terror campus Al-Falah is now coming to the fore. And Times Now is now tonight going to bring you a stunning new revelation. As per sources in the probe agencies, Umar, Muzammil and Shaheen were not the only doctors of doom from Al-Falah University. Years before, in fact, Umar and others, years before even Muzammil and even before Dr. Shaheen, there was another terrorist who got his degree in engineering from the same university. The terrorist that we are talking about is Mirza Shadab Bey. He passed with an engineering degree in the year 2007. The very next year, he went on to become one of the most dangerous operatives of the Indian Mujahideen. And sources suggest that even when he was studying at Al-Falah, he was plotting with Indian Mujahideen terrorists for the serial blast of 2008. The files that we have accessed on Mirza Shadab Beg show a terrifying pattern. 17 years ago, Shadab was the blue-eyed boy of Indian Mujahideen terrorists Riaz and Yasin Bhatkar. A resident of Azamgarh in Uttar Pradesh, he was involved and part of the Indian Mujahideen and was involved in the 2008 Ahmedabad serial blast as well, provided logistical support, and in 2008 he even went to Udupi and collected explosives for the Jaipur bombing. He gave them then to his handlers Yasin and Riaz Bhatkar. He was last located in Afghanistan in 2019, and of course there are also leads that indicate he went on to join ISIS in Syria as well. What exactly was happening, however, inside Al-Falah University? How were radicals and extremists breeding on the campus? Who enabled them? Who looked away? And how deep does this pipeline go? Here are some of the questions that we will try to explore tonight. But before that, we have some big breaking news coming in. After Al-Falah University founder Chairman Javed Siddiqui was taken into custody by the Enforcement Directorate, it's now come to light that he was involved in land seizure or land qabza as well. This is being alleged by family members of the owners of these land parcels. The land was grabbed by forging signatures of the deceased. He then transferred this land in his trust name, which is the Tarbiyah Foundation, and probe has revealed that this private foundation of Javed Siddiqui is registered in Madanpur Khadar in Delhi. It's the same office where Al-Falah University is also registered. Let's take a look at these documents that have been accessed by Times Now. This is the sale deed that we are putting out on the screens, and a lot of names that can be seen here are people who are not even alive, weren't alive even allegedly when the transactions took place. But pay attention to one particular name of Shiv Dayal. Now, Shiv Dayal, son of Chimman, is this name that has been written over here, and this sale deed was executed in 2013. Look at document number 2. We can quickly bring that up on the screen. What does this document say? This has now been submitted in the court, and this is the death certificate of Shiv Dayal, who died in 1998. His name is in the sale deed executed in 2013. Now take a look at the stamp duty document. This man is Javed Ahmed Siddiqui. For more, let's go across to Priyank for more on this. Priyank, very quickly, Priyank, take us through what exactly are you revealing? Because the entire campus of Al-Falah is now under the scanner. The manner in which they acquired land, which family members have told you is completely illegal.
Madhav, these documents shows a criminal intent because we have already broken the case which was there in Gurugram. Now, the document which we have access is clearly showing that since the year 2004, he started collecting the land which was in the name of dead people, and the year 2014, this parcel of land, which is approximately 1 acre, was transferred in the name of a private organization, which is a foundation, Taiba Foundation. And after which, what we got to know that when the locals complained, when they raised the point before the court, the construction was stopped. But what is very worrying is the kind of vehicles which were parked there, because locals are very much worried because dubious entities used to come there because this location is in totally isolation. And after the blast which has happened, where we have seen that multiple vehicles which had ID in inside it were parked at the Al-Falah institution. The locals are very much worried because of the entities. They have painted the main entrance of this particular building, which had the name of Falah Foundation.
But, okay. Stay with us because we also want to quickly play out the report that you have filed after you visited Madanpur Khadar, where you found a secret parking and suspicious nighttime activities. In fact, local residents have told Times Now that some of the cars used to arrive only late at night. Was the space used for parking cars with explosives involved in the Delhi blast? Take a look at this report.
What we have got to know through the document which has been accessed by us, that this property had been belonging to one of the person whose name was Nathu Singh in the year 1972. The land usage was changed. The GPA, which is the general power of attorney, was in the name of a particular individual till 2004, and in 2013 to 14, the Abia Foundation's name was mentioned in the registry. What is being alleged that around 25 to 30 individuals who had been the owners of this particular land were cheated. You can see there's a huge piece of land which is now converted into a parking lot.
अब तो खैर कुछ पता नहीं, रात में कोई भी उग्रवादी भी आकर इसके अंदर रहने लग जाए तो आम आदमी पब्लिक रहती है आराम से, किसी को क्या पता लगेगा अंदर क्या काम चल रहा है, इनका क्या नहीं चल रहा।
इस पे आप अभी भी दिखाई देंगे, अभी भी इस पे लिखा हुआ दिखाई दे जाएगा, तरबिया एजुकेशन फाउंडेशन। कुछ यहाँ लोकल लोगों ने वीडियो बनाकर डाल दी थी, उसमें ये बोर्ड आ रहा था। जब ये वायरल लोकल वीडियो हुई तो इन्होंने आनंद फानन में इसको बाहर से इसको पोत दिया है।
They heard subtly, that's the way these dubious transactions were being done. Signature of people who have died were made so that the land can be grabbed by this university owner who has now been arrested by the enforcement directorate.
Shocking ground reports there coming in from Al-Falah University. But meanwhile, during the bail plea hearing in the Delhi riots case today, the ASG SV Raju, arguing for Delhi police, mentioned in court that intellectual terrorists are more dangerous than ground level ones. That's a very serious observation that we saw coming in, or argument rather coming in, as far as the court is concerned. Let's quickly take this across to our guest. Major General Dhruv Katoj, retired director of India Foundation, is with us. We have Sanjay Sai, former IPS officer. Sushil Pandit, activist, is with us. Let me come across to you first, Major General Dhruv Katoj. No, the kind of secrets that are spilling out of the closet, the skeletons that are spilling out of the closet, whether it is land grab one day, whether it is secret parking lots the other day, or even, the fact that there is one individual who was way back 15 years ago, who graduated from there, was part of the Indian Mujahideen. Is there an environment, an ecosystem that was enabling these terrorists? Is an obvious question now that comes to mind, Major General.
Thank you, Madhav. Madhav, the way I look at it is, I think the terrorist activity or support to terrorism was being carried out from here, since the turn of the century, if not even before that. 1997, I think, was the time, or 93, was the time when the engineering college first came up. And I think it started after that. Somehow, because it was an isolated place, it remained under the scanner. I think, as far as the investigation agencies are concerned, the radar should have been raised when the Shadab chap got caught and he belonged to this institution. Perhaps if preliminary checks had been carried out at that time, a lot of the scam was exposed. But I don't believe it is simply these people. As far as terrorism is concerned, there will be a bigger organization behind them. But there is also a nexus of certain politicians in this, and there will be a nexus of certain bureaucrats, especially from the revenue department. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to really progress it to this level. This entire business is a scam. And because it is an isolated area, because there's nothing much happening there, I think they have got away with it for so long. One more point I want to give, I don't think any of these people was, they are supposed to be the brains behind terror activities. None of these doctors were supposed to be suicide bombers. They will give these bombs to other people to commit suicide, but I don't think any of these people have the courage to lay down their own lives for a cause such as this.
But Dr. Umar did so.
It is a very deep nexus, and I feel we need to get to the bottom of it. We are just at the tip.
Right, but it's a fact that Dr. Umar did actually, blow himself up. At least that's the functioning theory as far as the investigating agencies is concerned. But Sanjay Sai, to bring you in with this entire case of Shadab, we know that the Indian Mujahideen, Riaz Bhatkal and his brother were, synonymous with the IM. And we saw at that point of time a series of blasts which they were associated with. If this person was functioning as a courier for these individuals, the point is, why was this university then not kept under a very close watch?
They just fail to understand how things are functioning, and every day it becomes more and more murkier. First, I am not able to understand whether there is existence of revenue authorities or not. Or anybody can run roughshod while we are proclaiming to the world that there is e-khata and variety of things which are bringing in the nature of constraints where black money cannot move. While we move further with our discussion, let me tell you with utmost amount of clarity that there is a huge amount of money which changes hands in the university management with regards to capitation fee and management quota, and most of this money is in black or might be nearly all is in black, and it is in cash. So there's a huge flow of money which is happening all around the place. Till yesterday or till 2-3 days back, I thought it was a regulatory crisis, and the NAC and UGC, they have faltered in a manner they should not have, and they have brought us to this situation. Now I'm nearly convinced of the fact that worse off than those guys are the revenue authorities, are the Ministry of Company Affairs and variety of other agencies which are dealing, inclusive of the beat constable and also the police station there. If they have absolutely no idea as to what is happening there, and they have all idea about push cards and people on the pavement and what businesses they are doing and interfering in their business on a day-to-day basis, I think the less said the better. Coming to the Shadab story. Now 2008 to 2019, nobody has any idea as to what the efforts the investigative agency did, what was the intelligence input, and what was the nature of chase which they indulged in. So while this was happening for 11 years, 12 years, simultaneously a university which produced Shadab, and I am convinced of the fact now that there will be any more number of them who have actually not indulged in the activity and said, so they will never come in the scanner, but small amount of efforts aggregating into what we have been talking about would be happening on a regular basis. I am nearly convinced of the fact, given the nature of ED and variety of other investigation going on, that I think the whole management itself was somewhere the part of this whole
exercise. The management is, in fact, Mr. Jawad is behind bars. Jawad Siddiqui is his name, if I'm not mistaken. He's already been taken into custody.
Jawad Siddiqui can be behind bars, but Jawad Siddiqui is not going to give life to the 13 people who have died and another 7 odd people who have died in Nagaon. The other interesting facet is, while this whole exercise is going on, we don't know how to handle the explosive. The locals out there are talking in a manner, and if you see the passage through which you reach that police station where this whole explosive was kept, I don't think you need any brain of rocket scientists to visualize the nature of these things can happen.
Absolutely.
And it was in complete darkness. These things were happening. Coming back to Shadab.
This is a huge moment, and I think Sushil Pandit should come in on this, because Sushil Pandit, this is a moment that, as the previous speaker, Mr. Sahai, has said, it's a moment for us to really look inwards. Not only has corruption, eaten into our entrails, it's become so rotten that we can't even recognize when there is fraud, when there is terror, from the revenue officials to the local, perhaps constables, whoever was looking the other way in the case of this particular fraud as far as land grab is concerned, and also allowing for these people. I can't believe, I'm not able to understand how an Indian Mujahideen operative, if he has, graduated from a university, why that campus, why that would not be probed, why it would not at least be under watch?
Absolutely. In fact, it's fascinating. It's not just Jawad Shadab, who's been a fugitive for a couple of decades, 15 odd years. The founder of this university, Jawad Ahmad Siddiqui himself, is an absconder from Madhya Pradesh, where he absconded with the money of people he swindled through a chit fund company. The guy could actually deploy this money for an elaborate cover in the name of a university and put it to make more money for him, which would fund the true intent, true objectives of the so-called university. So this racket has been on for almost 25 years, which has produced deliberately terrorists, suicide bombers, criminals of the highest order, and has continued to operate. That is astounding. I'm surprised that we are surprised doctors are involved. I must tell you, Dr. Abdul Ahad Guru in 1990 served in the Sora SHMS Hospital, Srinagar. That hospital had become the hotbed of militancy. Sarla Bhatt, a staff nurse there, was abducted on the suspicion of being a police informer. Her body 5 days later, mutilated, multiple rapes, was thrown away. So doctors have been involved in this from the very beginning. We keep ignoring this fact. We keep ignoring institutions that operate in the name of university and hospitals, but actually become sanctuaries, become nurseries for producing more Al-Umars and Dr. Ahads and the Shadabs. And we still keep getting surprised every now and then that this is happening. The problem is we've never shut the tap. The tap from where this emerges, universities, actually madrasas operating in the name of universities, because university becomes now a very secular, very modern, very progressive place. This tap has never been shut. This flow will continue. And wave after wave after wave of whether PhD mannans, whether engineers, whether doctors, whether technicians will keep emerging, and so-called white-collar terrorism will keep surprising us. I am really scared as to what kind of future we are staring into.
Absolutely, but you know, it's also a fact. It's also a fact that even today, before the Supreme Court, perhaps, I mean, what you're saying is absolutely right. In Jammu and Kashmir, it's not something that's unheard of. But you know, the fact that today the ASG has to submit this before the court, and Major General Dhruv Katoch, you can come in on this, because what SV Raju has argued is that educated professionals or white-collar terrorists who engage in these radicalized terror-linked activities pose a particularly dangerous threat. So while that was in the context of the Delhi riots case that he was talking, the very fact that he has to invoke this, and you know, it's something that we have to come to terms with, because it's not something that would have been ordinarily associated with terror. The traditional image of somebody who's comes from a deprived background or is completely radicalized because of the poverty or the social situation, that's not at all the case in the case of these individuals.
No, in my view, the persons who are educated are more highly radicalized, and they tend to get much deeper and they have much wider linkages. Now, even if you saw the bombing which took place many years back in Bangladesh, it was done by very rich people, and all of them were very highly politically connected also. So this money angle and poverty and all that, it really doesn't cut any ice. A very large number of these educated people, they are doing it, and I feel they have been doing it for quite some time. As far as this particular university is concerned, I think we have just got a few people, but a very large number of them are likely to have been involved in some way or the other. And I think every single individual will be suspect or should be suspect and taken into questioning. The question of simply because a person is a doctor or an engineer doesn't give him the license to say that, okay, he's an educated chap and he's not going to do it. I'm afraid they're getting radicalized even worse than the uneducated people, because they know what they're getting into. And the uneducated chap doesn't know, but these people know, and still they do it. And I think that is where the real danger lies. We have to nip the evil in the bud, and we have to take action right now.
Right, absolutely. And in fact, Sanjay Sai, the question that we need to look at is this, that when it comes to whether it's such fraudulent transactions, scanner on universities such as this which are controversial, what needs to be done? Because at the end of the day, while the police did have a press conference earlier in the day, we even covered the fact that there are certain individuals who have been arrested. Yes, despite all of this, at the end of the day, the attack did take place. Perhaps we need to be a lot more alert, and our agencies and others need to keep perhaps better records to ensure that such suspicious activities come under the scanner.
I'll give you a complete overview of what the additional Solicitor General or whosoever was the senior most government advocate who appeared in the court. He's giving a very philosophical outlook that educated people become more pernicious sort of a thing. Why they did not do what they were supposed to do at the time of Delhi riots and prior to that. So let's stop that story there itself. I'm talking about three very clear-cut layers. So first is at the ground level, where revenue, police, and variety of other agencies, inclusive of Ministry of Company Affairs, shell companies and all that, they make money, and while they are making money, they are not bothered about the fact that it is coming from terrorism, it is coming from where. I don't think they even have that sort of a thinking that they will get into that. But there is a Al-Falah University or a private individual or whatever it might be. Second, you come to the regulatory agencies. Your UGC, NAC, and variety of other regulatory agencies in this country. So there you are saying a flop show to a level that even when they're putting in the board, they're not ready to put any AI crawler and find out what is there in their database. And then you finally come to our intelligence agencies and investigative agencies. So Shadab's story till now we have seen. And live if you want, then live we have seen from Faridabad to Chandni Chowk, Red Fort. One fellow crossing 60, 70, 80 kilometers through 50, 55 odd cameras. The cameras not delivering anything. The number plate not delivering anything. And that is the time when they are putting on social media that we will catch this guy. So I think the whole thing is operating at a very, very ephemeral and superficial level.
You know, this is a very, very important discussion. This is a very important discussion, gentlemen. Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Sanjay, I completely out of time. Sorry, I would have loved to have a much longer conversation with you as well as Mr. Sushil Pandit. But it's a fact. Whether it is corruption, whether it is the inefficiency of our government agencies and our security agencies, let's just remember one thing that all of these reports highlight, that all of these are eating into our national security. And that's something that all of us as citizens certainly have to be very, very concerned about. Major General Dhruv Katot, Sanjay Sai, Sushil Pandit, thank you so much for joining us this evening.